Good morning, YouTube. Today is Tuesday, October 3rd. We have officially made it to fall. Good morning, Tom and Anthony.
Good morning.
Morning, Ryan.
What are you boys doing today? It's looking awfully fall behind you, Anthony.
It is, man. Leaves are starting to fall.
Pretty soon you're going to be in a park out there.
No, we'll go inside for that.
Oh, okay.
We'll go inside.
Thomas, how are you? Have you recovered from the weekend?
I'm still a little tired, not gonna lie. I tried to get some sleep last night, but it was a full emotional weekend. Happiness, sadness.
Once again, our final congratulations to Tom. He was inducted to the Point Park Athletic Hall of Fame over the weekend. I believe the 64th, 63rd, 65th member, somewhere in there. Pretty awesome. That's a pretty prestigious class. So congratulations to you, Thomas.
Thank you.
I would like to fact check some of the statistics I heard at the speech. I believe a 373 career average or something of that nature was pretty impressive. So congrats.
I'll keep letting you tell people my average then.
Well, there you go. But congratulations. That was pretty cool.
Thank you.
You did a great job on the first pitch too, man. You did a great job.
I was going to give you guys a shout for showing up there on Friday night. First pitch. It was a strike. So, yeah.
That was a strike. And they announced you as the Tom Burko. So just let everyone know.
The only one.
Tom, it's the Tom Burko from now on. It's the Pittsburgh Pirates named him that. So there you go. All right, boys.
Thank you, guys.
Before we get into it, and I know we saw this over the weekend. I know we're standing on our mountaintop and we're preaching about price reductions. And why we're preaching about price reductions? Because it's hurting the market. And why it's hurting the market? Appraisers look at the most recent properties that closed closest to your house. So if you got a property down the street that has price reductions, in your listing, that could hurt your value, plain and simple. Anth, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's extremely valuable information because, it's obviously not the same market as it used to be. Excuse me. And, with price reductions, when appraisers are looking at appraised values and comps, they need to compare them. So if they see a property listed for, for example, 200,000, and then a house on the same street just sold comparable to that place for 175, that hurts the value.
Houston, we got a problem.
Yeah. I mean, the more price reductions that happen, it's going to affect market values, marketability, and those values are going to come in low. I had an agent last week wondering why and it wasn't with West Penn, but the appraisal came in 30 grand light.
Let's talk about that real quick. Okay. Yeah. There's two differences on the real estate side. The real estate side, everyone believes the value of a property is what the buyer, the seller, and the two real estate agents agree upon. Okay. That's understandable. That's the real estate side. The second that buyer needs a mortgage, they now have to go under financing rules and appraisal guidelines. So an appraiser doesn't just flip his coin, go out to the house, and come up with a value. Can you explain what the appraiser goes off of and why these price reductions are going to hurt future values?
For sure. So it's basically a layer of risk. So they're going to go off of most recent sales that have sold within the most recent 6 months. The proximity is closest to the subject property that's being bought or financed within a 1 mile radius. So, if they're flipping over to, another school district, not going to happen. It's not a valuable comp. They have to find something closer to. Ultimately, if there is no comps, then that's a marketability issue. So
plain and simple, if you're listing a property and you see properties comparable to your property selling for less, that should be a red flag. And don't come yelling at the lender when the appraisal comes in undervalued, because the appraiser is a third party. They're not linked to West Penn Financial. they're independent. They are coming in and looking at the comparable properties that have sold within the last 6 months that are closest to the property. Do your homework, research it out, find some comparables, leave them for the appraiser. Can't hurt if you got some good comparables out there. They use them, they don't use them. That's up to the appraiser, but that's how it works on the financing side. The whole thing of the buyer and seller agreed to that. Well, then the buyer and seller need to pay cash. And then you don't need to worry about us. But when you need to get that mortgage and we're financing the deal, like Anthony said, it's a layer of risk. And an appraiser isn't just flipping their coin and coming up with a value. I know sometimes it's frustrating, but we got to work through that. And here's the easy way to do it. Offer seller assistance instead of dropping the price. Plain and simple. Plain and freaking simple.
Ryan, you never brought that up on this show before.
No, never talked about that. Seller assistance can then be used by the buyer in a multitude of ways. It can lower closing costs. It can drop the interest rate. It can remove mortgage insurance. It gets up to the buyer then. It's the same for your seller. The bottom line is the same. You give a $10,000 price reduction. You give a $10,000 seller assistance. As long as it's in the guidelines of the mortgage, that's the same darn thing for your seller. It's actually in this market going to help the buyer a whole lot more. The numbers don't lie with that. We can talk till we're blue in the face, but just don't offer a seller assistance. Don't offer the buy down, offer the seller assistance. Plain and simple. Okay, good, happy, capiche?
Capiche.
All right. Next, we're going to get into, we hear about it a lot in the mortgage world, but I don't know if it's ever fully understood, is the automated underwriting systems, how they work, how we use them, and how important they really are. And really, this system is a big difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval, because without getting an approval through an automated underwriting system, no one can do the mortgage. Pretty much, you're going to have trouble secondary market getting that mortgage approved. So it is the first step as an approval with a buyer. And a loan officer, a proper loan officer, I would say, is running an AUS report at pre-approval to know that you are getting an approval through an automated underwriting system. Then the loan officer collects documents, W-2s, pay stubs, bank statements, or you go through our electronic version of getting a mortgage where we do electronic national verifications and you're approved electronically where you don't need paper documents. That requires a conventional loan and you be on the job for at least 2 years. But we can talk about that in another episode. Once we get your documents, once we get your automated underwriting approval, we send your mortgage application out. Then we send it to our underwriting team. Again, that's a big difference. Where is the lender's underwriters? Ours in our building that work for us, same underwriters every day. That's not the same for every company, right, Anth? Some companies are brokers and they're sending that all the way across the country and they don't know who that underwriter is.
That is correct. Ours is local to the Pittsburgh area, has been since 1983.
That's right. So we can all call our underwriters and say, hey, Mrs. Underwriter, why is this underwriting guideline there? Why is this income the way it is? We're not just calling into a queue. We can go into their office down on Babcock Boulevard and ask them questions, sit there, go over a file, where that is a huge part of the approval process. Is if an underwriter doesn't agree with the loan officer on something in the file, that's all behind the scenes and in the weeds that you guys don't normally see, but it's a huge factor in, having that buyer sit at the closing table because an underwriter hasn't approved it, or something crazy like that. When our underwriters are local, we know them, we can call them. Tom, I feel like
buy him a cup of coffee if we need to.
Buy him a cup of coffee. It's just really a game changer.
No, yeah, it really is. Having everything local in this area. It's so nice being able to talk to them, sit down, we go over the guidelines with that. But the automated underwriting system is very important to our business. I mean, that is, as a loan officer, we collect the information, we do the approval. If we can't get the automated underwriting system to say approve, we cannot give you that pre-approval letter. So this is our way as loan officers to get that first step done and almost pre-underwritten in a way.
No, it is pre-underwritten. I mean, it's done by an automated system, but when we say automated underwriting systems, too, guys, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have their own. So there's two different systems that we can run. Also, VA, USDA, FHA. There's all different underwriting systems. So depending on your loan type, depending on the mortgage guidelines, we run it through, we get an approval. If we get an approval as a loan officer, that's huge for you guys as agents and buyers, because now we know that loan's approved. We just need our underwriting team to confirm all of our work, all of the guidelines, look at it, they approve it, boom, we're clear to close, no problem for the buyer.
One other thing too is that automated underwriting system is telling us about the appraisal waiver. I know we've gone over the appraisal waiver here. We go over it in the offices. We don't flip that coin, appraisal waiver or not, right, at West Penn. That comes from the top at Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. If that value acceptance is within their system and there has been an appraisal on that house, typically within the last 10 years.
There's a lot of information that lenders will use out there as marketing ploys, and that information is gotten from the automated underwriting system. Tom is exactly right. So if you have a buyer that's putting in an offer on a property, if they're pre-approved with one of us, if we know the address, if we've confirmed the buyer's down payment, we can run the automated underwriting system. And just like Tom said, if that buyer is putting at least 20% down, there's a chance we get an appraisal waiver. If there's an appraisal waiver, we know at that point that the property is considered at that value, whatever you're offering, and we will not order an appraisal. An appraisal is not needed for financing. So
and you don't need to put that appraisal contingency addendum in there.
I was going to say, well, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a real estate agent, but I would say, agents, if you know the lender isn't ordering an appraisal, that may change your thoughts on the appraisal contingency. That's how we'll say that, Tom. Okay.
Fair. Okay. You're usually by the books. You know how I go.
We got to keep it. We got to keep it here. Go get your real estate license if you want to talk definites there. Then we'll have.
I am licensed as of yesterday. I got my certificate, so I do know what I'm talking about.
It wouldn't surprise me. You're Hall of Famer. You talk about how many degrees you got down there at Point Park. I don't know how many years it took you to get those degrees.
98 degrees. Multiple
degrees. All-time hits leader. I mean, it was like a Tom Burko weekend that I couldn't get away from. But anyhow,
it was a great parade they had on Sunday too. It was awesome.
Seriously, shut down the boulevard. I'm excited for the AM Chatter fall season, that every morning now, as we progress, Anthony will look more like Jesus. So that is, I'm just like, yes. Anth, before we go, do you have any enlightening facts for us?
No. Help your buyers, give them seller's assist, stop doing price reductions, and then complaining later that the appraisal is coming in low.
There you go. That's our senior loan officer right there, guys.
That's good stuff. One more fact. I don't think the Steelers made it past the 50 this weekend. So, but it is Ravens week.
They don't get a mention. When you go to Houston and you score 6 points, you don't even get made fun of on this show. So
I named my episode, "Are the Steelers done?" I had to bring them up.
No comment. All right, boys. Have a good Tuesday.
See you guys
later.